Oh, Member Highland, welcome. Okay, we are recording.
Okay, great. This is Vice Chair Yankee. I will be chairing on behalf of Chair Wolf for this meeting. So I'm going to call the September 1st, 2021 meeting of the San Francisco Sunshine Ordinance Task Force to order. Cheryl, if you could read the preamble and the meeting decorum for us, please.
I will. We are starting. I have 403. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, City and County of San Francisco, remote regular meeting. Listen and call public call-in phone number 415-906-4659. Meeting ID 442-210-56#. If you wish to make a comment, make a statement during general public comment, please press *6 and unmute your telephone to speak. Please press *6 to mute your telephone once you are done with your statement. Remote access to information and participation. In accordance with Governor Newsom's Executive Order N3320, declaring a state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, and Mayor London and Breed's proclamation declaring a local emergency issued on February 25, 2020, including the guidance for gatherings issued by the San Francisco Department of Public Health Officer, aggressive directives were issued to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized their board and committee meetings to convene remotely, via Microsoft Teams, and will allow remote public comment by teleconference. Members of the public may participate by phone or may submit their comments by email to cheryl.leger@sfgov.org. That's CHERYL.LEGER@sfgov.org. All comments received will be made a part of the official record. The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force and their associated documents are available at sfbos.org/sunshine. As the COVID-19 disease progresses, please visit the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force website regularly to be updated on the current situation as it affects the legislative process. Meeting decorum. Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to disorderly conduct of meeting participants. Persons who engage in threatening or menacing behavior may be asked to leave.
Thank you, Cheryl. And if you could proceed to item number 1.
Item number 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. I will proceed with roll call. Chair Wolf.
Present.
Chair Wolf present. Member Forsley.
Present.
Member Forsley present. Member Neighbors.
Present.
Member Neighbors present. Member Highland.
Present.
Member Highland present. Vice Chair Yankee.
Present.
Vice Chair Yankee present. Member Stein.
Present.
Member Stein present. Member Wong.
Present.
Member Wong present. Member Padmanabhan.
Present.
Member Padmanabhan present. Member LaHood.
Present.
Member LaHood present. Member Schmidt. Member Schmidt. I will note Member Schmidt not present at this time. And I think our next subject matter is agenda changes. I spoke to Vice Chair Yankee about this, but yesterday at 8:45 in the morning, I received an email from Maya Zubkovskaya. She has her file number is 20123, and she wrote me asking for a continuance in her matter. She has never requested this before, but she said that she and her husband are in the process of getting their records at this time and wanted to postpone it for that reason.
And Cheryl, did you speak with the Department of Emergency Management?
Yeah, they knew about it. I did. I spoke with Victor Lim, and he was aware of because he was CC'd also, and he was aware of her request, and he said that was fine.
Okay. Members, should we take a vote on this to, formally, I'm thinking formally continue it? Is there any motion on this or any discussion?
This is Member Stein. I'll make a motion to continue file 20123.
I'll second the motion. This is Member LaHood.
Okay. Moved by Member Stein, seconded by Member LaHood. To continue the matter, is there any discussion, members? Any public comment for
Yeah, I have some
motion?
I have some discussion.
Go ahead.
We'd just like to keep track of how many times folks request a continuance. It's a little off-putting that this comes the day of or the day before the meeting when we have such a backlog. We could have filled a slot. So let's just be cognizant of that and same thing for committees. Just be cognizant of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and open it up to public comment. This is for the motion as part of item number 1. Please press *6 if you'd like to make a public comment. Any public comment?
I'm Patrick Manette Shaw. I'd like to make a comment.
Okay. Any others for public comment?
Can you hear me? This is Warfield.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, Cheryl, when you're ready, please let the.
Is that all we have for public commenters? 2 public commenters? We don't have a third? All right, we will begin with Mr. Manette Shaw. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm Patrick Manette Shaw. I'm extremely disappointed that Maya and her husband, I don't want to butcher pronunciation of their last name, but that they requested a continuance for file 20123 just yesterday is extremely disappointing. I have a complaint that has been dragging on for a good 4 or 5 months that should have been scheduled, or I had hoped it would have been scheduled for today's hearing. Their request to continue their item has now cost me a month delay on having my complaint 21054 heard today. And I wish that there was some process at the task force that when a complainant suddenly cancels at the last minute, that you develop a procedure to modify the agenda and add another complainant in that vacated time space so that our cases could be processed much more quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Cheryl. When you're ready, please let Mr. Warfield know.
Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Just let me know when to start.
Go ahead, sir.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. The users 2004. Is somebody whistling? Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and also P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. I'd like to agree with the basic thoughts of the previous 2 speakers. that's exactly a problem with last-minute withdrawals. But that's also why I have asked repeatedly if the task force would try to make some effort to find out specifically what is the reason that people are asking for a continuance. In the first place, actually, I think that they can have basically a free pass the first time. I believe it sounded like Chair Wolf made the comment about the number of continuances. I believe the first one is essentially a free pass based on the wishes of the complainant, although I'm not sure whether there's also something in the rules about timeliness of making the request. But the big reason that I'm concerned is all of the weight, all of the personnel, all of the facilities of the city government, of the task force, of the administration, of the members, and of the public have gone into, to one degree or another, in many cases, quite a lot of effort to put these matters on the agenda, to get presumably justice for the complainant, if that's what is called for. And so I think it's important to understand what's going on. I think also that presumably this has certainly happened before, and presumably it sounded from what we heard, or from what bit we heard, that now the records seem to be forthcoming. So I'm concerned that this will go away after all that effort.
30 seconds.
And I show 5 seconds more. And all that effort will be undocumented and basically go into the memory hole, even though it was all of the law, the effort that made, or probably made, the turnover of the records possible. So I think that there should be some way to go forward with documenting complaints and finding a violation, even if people withdraw, or in some fashion to document what's going on and that there was a violation, especially when it comes to repeat violations. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public commenters?
And Mr. Chair, and this is Doug Carlson along with my wife Maya Zukowska. We can comment if the commission, if the task force would like.
Sure, that's fine. I'm sure let them know when.
Is it Mr. I'm sorry, I didn't get the name.
Doug Carlson with Maya Zukowskaya.
Okay, just a second. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So we apologize for the late request for a continuance. We did believe that we were doing it in the interest of saving the task force some time. We have needed these records for well over a year, and this complaint has been pending since last November. We've had to move forward with our litigation against the city as well as the people who caused this incident to happen. And so we have already submitted a discovery request to the city for these records, and they did appear in the city's initial disclosures under Rule 26. So we expect to receive the records in their entirety through the discovery process, and ultimately decided that it probably is not such a good use of the task force's time to rule on this issue today when we may be getting the records anyways, but we're not certain. So, and it took a little bit of time to deliberate on this, and so we apologize for the last minute request for continuance, but it was done in the interest of saving the task force time. And so we're apologize for the effects on the agenda for other complaints that might have made it into that slot. If the task force does want to hear the complaint today, we're happy to do so as well.
Thank you, sir. I see Chair Wolf would like to make a comment, but before we do that,
Go ahead. It would have been very helpful if we knew that you had entered into litigation, because it does trump our work since considering we don't have subpoena power or the level of authority that and gravity that a court does. Your ability to be able to get records through litigation is going to be far more successful, possibly, and more timely than through our process. So I would respectfully request that the file be closed.
Chair Wolf, is that are you making a motion to amend?
Well, I'd like to ask the complainant here, based upon what I just said, whether that it's really in the best interest of our time that if you've already moved into the judicial branch, that we close the file here at this point. And I'd like to hear your response on that.
I haven't looked at the administrative code lately with this particular question in mind, but I don't recall that litigation stops a sunshine ordinance process. I understand intuitively why someone might not continue or need the sunshine ordinance process if there's litigation, but I'm not sure that the existence of litigation compels a termination of an effort that we began with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force before the litigation began. So, given that we don't know that we will obtain these records in their entirety through discovery, it seems like it might be an infringement on our rights to have this complaint closed, which is why we asked for a continuance and suggested 60 days, because we submitted the discovery request last week. So in the next 60 days, we should know which way we need to go. And again, if there's a rule that says, or a code section that says otherwise, I apologize, because I didn't brief myself on this question before this meeting, but I don't think that this complaint should be closed yet.
Well, it's a kind of the way the process in our experience has worked. It usually is if persons were to go to a court first without exercising the local process, the court will ask that question of the complainant. And if the local process has not been exercised, then they will usually request that you do so. So if you have already been successful in obtaining a hearing or any action by the court, and the court is going to allow you discovery at this point, it's kind of duplicative, and it trumps the ordinance at this point. Not trumps the ordinance, it trumps our process, because you'll probably get a better response and service out of it than through our process.
Well, to clarify, the court case is a civil rights case and a tort case, not a records disclosure case.
I don't know what you're filing, so all I hear from your testimony is that you filed to obtain records to the court through discovery process.
No, excuse me. The court, the actions in court are civil rights against the police and the city, as well as various torts, and so those are not records disclosure requests. But as part of the discovery process in that court case, we have asked for the records that happen to be the subject of this task force request, and the city put those records in their initial disclosure, so they intend to rely on them in their defense. So we're definitely entitled to them in the litigation, but the litigation is not a Public Records Act or other records disclosure litigation.
So I'm not clear why you're asking for a continuance at this point.
We don't know for certain whether the defendants might try to withhold portions of these records. We just don't know. I mean, I don't think they will, but until they do, we won't know. Until they respond, we won't know.
Yeah, okay. This is a bit unfortunate for our agenda, I do have to say. I would just ask that this be continued at the call of the chair. I'm not going to agree to recognize this item until we know for sure that the parties are ready to go. And I won't take a last minute continuance either. I'll have the file closed at that point. This is highly inconvenient for the task force at this point, where we have a huge backlog. And so I just think it's at this point we need to keep the process moving. Thank you.
Are you asking that we rescind our motion?
Yeah.
No, I'm not asking you to rescind the motion. I would say that it would be continued, but it'd be continued at the call of the chair, not to any specific time certain.
So you're asking to amend the motion?
Well, can you repeat the motion?
Moved by member Stein, second by member Neighbors to continue file 20123.
Cheryl, I think member LaHood seconded that.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. It's LaHood. Yes, you're right.
So there wasn't a time certain to for it to be continued. Okay, that's fine. It's just automatically at that point to the call of the chair. That's fine.
Yes.
Okay. We can continue.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we do a final call for public comment because I don't think we officially closed it. So were there any public commenters who have not already spoken on this item who wish to speak? *6 to unmute yourself. Hearing none, I will close public comment. Members, is there any further discussion before we vote? Hearing.
Hello?
Sorry.
Yes, this is Victor Lim, External Affairs Officer from the Department of Emergency Management. We are here to answer any questions if necessary, and my colleagues are here too.
Okay, thank you. I think we're all set though.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready for a vote here, Cheryl, when you're ready.
All right. Member Stein?
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Vice Chair Yankee?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yankee, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Moved by member Stein, seconded by member LaHood to continue files number 20123 to the call of the chair.
And Cheryl, let's make sure we note that member Schmidt was present at, looks like at least 4:25.
425, yes.
Okay, yeah, 4:25.
Thank you.
Give me a second to write that down.
And then Cheryl, when you're ready, you can go ahead and call item number 2.
Excuse me. Item number 2, approval of the minutes from the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force August 4, 2021 meeting.
Thank you. Members, any comments or discussion on the meeting minutes?
I have
Member
one brief.
Member LaHood?
Yes. I have a brief comment. I was looking at the minutes. They are very detailed, which is great. One thing I noticed in I think it was in the general public comment section. Sorry, I was toward the end. It looks like, let's see, this is on page P6. It looks like there are a lot of comments. I believe they're all attributed to Mark Sullivan. The last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs in that. I was wondering, because all of the previous, I wanted to see if it was clear to everyone else that all came from Mark Sullivan, because in some cases he was quoting different case law, and I sort of did a double take, and I was thinking, is this all Mark Sullivan? But if no one else paused at that, I think we can leave it as it is. But I just wanted to see if that caught anyone else's attention.
I just want to confirm for you, yes, it was all Mark Sullivan, and this is how he presented his written comment. He submitted it in writing, and that's how he presented it to me. So that's the format I was using that he wanted.
Got it. Thank you. So those were from his written comments. That makes sense. Thank you.
Emailed me.
This is Victor Young. I would like to suggest that we indicate that it was written comment provided, and we can just indent it slightly so we know it's from him. But I would like to indicate it was written comment provided by Mr. Sullivan and not actually something that the clerk wrote.
Chair Wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I was going to ask if that could be done, if some sort of notation or special formatting could be done.
Yeah, I could just say Mr. Mark Sullivan provided written comment as follows.
Yeah, but it needs to be in some sort of container. So as Victor suggested, if it was indented a little, like by, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, so that it's all underneath Mark Sullivan's first sentence, then we'll know that it's all pertaining to him. Otherwise, you'd have to be some other way to identify it. Anyway, we'll figure it out. It's an administrative back thing that we could do offline.
I have no problem in indenting it, Chair Wolf. That's no problem at all. And I will put a sentence that says written comment provided by Mark Sullivan.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other comments on last month's minutes?
Member Levitt, did you have another comment? Oh, okay.
No, but I think that typographical fix, I think, will do the trick.
Okay.
Do we want to have a motion before we move to public comment?
I'll move to approve the minutes. This is Chair Wolf.
Okay. Moved by Chair Wolf. Do we have a second?
This is Member Wong. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Moved by Chair Wolf, seconded by Member Wong. Let's go ahead and move to public comment. If you'd like to make a public comment on item number 2, which is the meeting minutes, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and then Cheryl will let you know when you're ready to speak. Any public comment? Last call for public comment. All right, hearing none. I'm sorry?
Warfield.
Okay. Cheryl, it sounds like Mr. Warfield would like to make a public comment.
Are there any other public commenters? Okay, it looks like Mr. Warfield is it. Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
Just let me know when to start.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
it's cracking up. Is that yes?
Yes, we can hear you, yeah.
Thank you. Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and also P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. I'm a little taken aback by the discussion here, and I'm not clear where the motion stands. It seems to me very simple, and other places do it, that I've seen routinely, to label the provided public comments that the public to you. Under Sunshine, as I'm sure you know, the public is allowed, if they wish, to provide 150 word or up to 150 word summaries of what they have said for inclusion in the minutes. And it's appropriate to include those. There's no reason they shouldn't be labeled as your administrator has suggested. And I think that should be explicit. With respect to the rest of the minutes, there may be detail, but in general, I'm sorry to say that there's a rather unfortunate lack of detail that I think drains the minutes of meetings. I think the Sunshine Task Force is at an unfortunate, and an opportunity as well, a kind of crisis of flagrant violation widespread among the highest levels in our city. And where you have laws without monitoring and enforcement, plus a willingness to violate at times flagrantly, then I think you have lawlessness. And where you have lawlessness along with a flagrant violation of basic governmental democratic concepts of, for example, meeting participation, then I think you're really damaging democracy. And I think minutes have to be clear, and that good minutes, detailed minutes support understanding of what's going on with respect to those processes. With respect to these particular minutes, our group name is Library Users Association, not abbreviated, where it's abbreviated once. We request that you put our detailed information, contact information, wherever it appears. And on item 4 in particular, we specifically asked for a subcommittee or a committee of the task force to hear a follow-up on the library, because the Library Commission has not changed anything since the time of the...
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warfield. Time's up. Okay, are there any other public commenters? Star 6. Hearing none. Go ahead. I'm sorry?
No. This is Patrick. I'd like to comment.
Okay, we have one more public commenter. Cheryl, because
yes.
Mr. Monette, know when you're ready.
Mr. Monette, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
While I appreciate that these minutes are more contain more detail, I agree that meeting minutes should be somewhat brief. And so I am urging this committee to make a rule that to strike a balance between highly detailed meeting minutes and just brief minutes, that you draw a line in the sand. While public commenters have a First Amendment right to say whatever they want, including Mr. Warfield repeating ad nauseum his contact information, which people can find, if they want it, by looking at one of his written complaints. They will know how to contact him, and I think the one-person Library User Association. And in order to conserve space in your meeting minutes, I humbly beg you, please do not ad nauseum repeat his contact information multiple times in a single document of a single task force meeting repeating gratuitously how to contact him. That is above the pale. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public commenters? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close public comment. Members, any final discussion before we vote? Seeing none, Cheryl, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Chair Wolf,
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Member Wong,
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Member Padmanabhan,
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Neighbors,
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Stein,
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member Forsley,
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Schmidt,
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Vice Chair Yankee,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yankee, aye. Member LaHood,
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland,
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Moved by Chair Wolf, seconded by Member Wong to approve the August 4, 2021 minutes.
Thank you, Cheryl. And when you're ready, please call item number 3. Before you go, Cheryl, if I could ask everyone to please mute yourself if you're not speaking. I hear some background noise. Please press *6 to mute yourself. Okay, I don't hear it any longer. Okay, Cheryl, when you're ready, item number 3, please.
Item number 3, file number 20055, complaint filed by Liza Borowski against the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a records request in a timely and or complete manner.
Thanks. And can you read the actions below it?
Yes, I can. On June 8th, 2021, the Education Outreach and Training Committee found jurisdiction, determined the records are public, and referred the matter to the task force for hearing.
Thank you, Cheryl. And before we begin, I just want to make sure that both the complainant and the respondent are present. Ms. Borowski, are you present?
I am present.
Great, thank you. And do we have someone from the Department of Public Health present? Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Calling for someone from the Department of Public Health. This is for item number 3. I am not hearing anyone from the Department of Public Health. Ordinarily, the way this would work is that the complainant would have the chance for them to present their case 5 minutes. The respondent would have 5 minutes. But it sounds like the respondent isn't here. So, members, is there any objection to continuing regardless? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and let Ms. Borowski present her case. Ms. Borowski, you're going to have 5 minutes, and Cheryl will let you know when you're ready to begin.
Thank you. And I would like to make note that this is the second time that the Department of Public Health has not shown up out of 3 times. So I believe that is a violation, and the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force should look at that type of violations.
Okay, Ms. Borowski, just wait one moment just for Cheryl to set the clock, and then you'll have your 5 minutes.
She's fine. I got her. She's fine.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I'd also like to bring to your attention that this is 5 different requests that have not been answered in over 2 years. The responses are weak, non-informative, and repetitive. So the hearing is with the Department of Public Health regarding case management ratio to client-centered care within our system, along with additional requests on renovations evictions, and false accusations of threatening to kill someone while holding a building hostage and simultaneously committing suicide. All requests received an extremely weak or an inappropriate response, proving the lack of tenancy oversight and accountability in mental health and supportive housing services. The following data was requested on the services offered in unhoused shelters, navigation centers, treatment facilities, residential on-site support services, and SROs that offered supportive mental health and recovery treatment. The Department of Public Health currently has no data on file dating back to 2015 to the present. The response states that the San Francisco Department of Public Health has 30 regular programs. I did send this evidence in. Unfortunately, it was not in a timely manner, but I did not receive it in a timely manner. But they indicated we have 30 regular programs. We have over 250 programs, according to the Deputy Department Director of Behavioral Health Services, Marlo Simmons. I have received several responses from the Department of Public Health that shows in each area, from the street to the shelter and to the SROs, the ratios are all the same. 1 case manager to 17 or 1 to 60. The same response was applied to all treatment programs and services for mental health. There is no specific data or live dashboard to show the availability of culturally responsive resources that represents the individual particular needs. The response for each service was the same and responded by the blanket cut and paste number. One shoe does not fit all. Currently, our mental health services are roughly 67% understaffed. This is a great disservice to our city and leading to death on our streets and repeated abuse of the system due to the lack of care and treatment in place. According to the town hall with Senator Wiener this August, this year, California is receiving $238 billion in mental health. This is on top of the additional funding from our city's Prop C, Our City, Our Home, Mental Health SF, and FEMA support. This type of care results in high turnover, inconsistencies, misdiagnosed, and in worst case, death due to the lack of resources and qualified staff in ratio currently provided, or should I say not provided. Who is currently available? Who is accountable for the monies being distributed without knowing the ratio is and the level of care provided? These statistics are disturbing, and the fact that we do not have a database is even more problematic. When our most significant provider, Health Right 360 in mental health and substance abuse treatment, is reporting different statistics than the Department of Public Health. You have to question where the funding is going and how the budget is being adequately distributed. A 1 to 60 case management ratio would mean that you would have 10 minutes to meet with someone who may need intensive case management or psychiatric services. What do you think the outcomes are going to be when to even provide or create a therapeutic alliance to begin a self-building individual? During COVID, I worked very closely with the Department of Emergency Management and the Center for Disease and Control. We were able to start lifetime dashboards for several different areas. We should have no problem implementing the service to regulate the services offered and the availability in live time. This is crucial to the funding and the services needed to be implemented, and areas where increased training and cultural competency staff is required within mental health. Consequences.
Your time is up.
Pardon?
Your time is up.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I'll make another call just in case someone from the Department of Health has shown up. Any response from the Department of Public Health, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, hearing none. We will go ahead and turn it over to our members for questions.
Vice Chair Yankee, you need to ask for any persons or witnesses.
I'm sorry, any persons or witnesses on behalf of, well, at this point, I'm sorry, I missed for both. So on behalf of either the petitioner or the respondent who wishes to speak. All right, hearing none. We have some.
This is Patrick. I'd like to comment in support of this complainant.
Okay, we're not at public comment quite yet. Are you?
No. It's not a comment. I am speaking in support of this complainant as an interested party, not as providing public.
Would you like Cheryl to set the clock for you?
Yes.
Okay, Cheryl.
Got it. Mr. Manesh, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Unfortunately, I do not have at the tip of my tongue or on my desk a copy of recent state legislation that passed requiring agencies such as DPH to provide a written care plan to homeless people at the time they are discharged, indicating where they can access the various menu of services that they need. If this complainant reaches out to me through my email address that is listed on several of the complaints I've filed with the task force, I will assist her in tracking down that legislation and making it available to her. I totally concur with her extreme frustration that DPH is simply thumbing its nose at the Sunshine Task Force's processes by failing or by being a no-show once again. I think when this discussion among the members of the task force opens up and you consider a potential motion on finding a violation, that you definitely should cite the failure of DPH to show up without any notice that they weren't going to do that, and that you should also refer this case to the Ethics Commission and or the Board of Supervisors, documenting how often DPH has, in the recent past, thumbed its nose and simply not shown up for your hearings. This is totally outrageous. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other persons or witnesses to speak on behalf?
Hello?
Yes?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, my name is Cheryl Shanks. If I could have a couple of minutes. I would like to make a complaint about Health Right 360 because actually...
Excuse me, Speaker. Speaker, are you speaking on behalf of the petitioner in this case?
Pardon me?
Are you speaking as a witness or on behalf of the petitioner in this case?
Yes, I am. Liza Morawski.
Okay, so this is regarding this case?
Yes, I also... Well, I concur with Liza on her complaint. That...
Okay.
Maybe I'm confused. Am I confused? I'm trying to talk. I'm making a complaint about Health Right 360, Tom Waddell Clinic, and the lack of services, and how the lack of services...
One moment. This isn't the form to make a complaint. If you have a separate complaint, there's an intake form, and our administrator can help you make that. This is the portion for speaking as a witness specifically on this case raised by Ms. Morawski. If you have a separate complaint, that needs to go through our intake process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other person?
Excuse me, board members. Ms. Shanks has a hearing difficulty and may be hearing a delay. So yes, she is in favor of my complaint. And I think she wants to explain her experience that will back up my complaint. So if you could give her 2 minutes.
Okay.
And be patient with her disability, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
So she's appearing as a witness on behalf
Correct.
of.
Okay.
So she
Live.
should be included. So I just want to notate that just for everybody's edification, we asked for this so that there could be provided additional support or witness discovery on behalf of the complainant. Anybody who does speak in this portion becomes party to complaint and will forfeit their public comment rights for this particular case. So we're going to hear from these witnesses, and then when we get to the end of the process where we have public comment on the motion, the parties cannot speak again on the motion. Only members of the public or anyone else that has not spoken on the matter. I hope that's clear. I hope I've articulated that correctly.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
Is this a comment, or does she mentioned a name and I didn't get it? Ms. Morosky, can you tell me the name of the woman who is speaking on your behalf?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cheryl Shanks.
Shanks.
Yes, and second last name Block, Block.
Okay. Ms. Block,
Cheryl, are you clear on what is being said?
Do we have our speaker? Please press *6 if you were speaker referred to by Ms. Morosky, I believe was Cheryl. If you would like to speak as a witness on this, please press *6 to unmute yourself. This would be your time for that. Ms. Morosky, I'm not hearing your witness.
She may have got disconnected or left. Maybe she was confused. I'm not quite sure. Please feel free to continue.
Okay, thank you. I think it's time for our members to ask questions. So I see Member Hyland, Member Padmanabhan, and Member Neighbors. So Member Hyland, if you'd like to go ahead.
Member Hyland here. Vice Chair Yankee, you might want to just ask to see if the respondent is in the room at this point, just so that they've had their spot, and then I'll talk after that.
All right, we'll do another call for the respondent. Is anyone from Public Health available? Okay, I think we're still not having anyone present from Public Health.
Okay, I just wanted to backtrack a second, and since this came before the EOT, and I'm guessing Member Padmanabhan may also be echoing the sentiment, but there's a little bit of history to this. The first time this was heard in May, Ms. Fien was not there. The next time we heard it in June, we continued it. She was there. In that meeting, we determined that even though they didn't have the records directly, they were able to get the records from the subcontractors and provide the ratios that Ms. Morosky was after. And that really led us to kind of pursue and continue this case. In other words, that the information was available by DPH. We then specifically asked Ms. Vienne to list the 5 remaining requests and that she was going to do a search for them over the next 5 weeks. And that was on June 8th. And so I would like to go back to our clerk and ask, was there any response to that? Did you receive anything from DPH or Ms. Vienne to that specific request at the end of the last committee meeting?
Yeah, I did. And I thought it was included in the packet.
If you could refer to the page in the packet, I've scanned it. I don't see it. Or perhaps Member Padmanabhan might have seen it.
I didn't see it too. That's why I raised my hand. But it was July 8th that we had asked for Ms. Vienne to submit her search results.
I have an email I'm looking at in my file dated June 11 from Ms. Vienne to Liza.
This is Member Wong. So I see an email from Ms. Vienne on.
Get the request from every single one of them, and every single one of them is the same response for every single type of, as I read in my 5-minute thing, for every type. So you're talking if someone's in a critical case or not, what's going on? There's no data. So we have no records of the mental health services being provided.
Thank you, Ms. Morawski. Ms. Morawski, I'm going to cut you off there.
Okay.
Member Wong, what page are we on in the packet?
So I see a response, which it doesn't appear to have a date, on P32, and that's page 18 of the PDF.
May I say that this was the original document that was submitted when we were at that EOTC meeting. So we had asked for Ms. Morawski had asked for data going back to 2015, and I think that was what was at stake there.
Okay, other than what I just said, the June email, that's all I've gotten.
Is that email in the packet? That's what we're asking.
Is this this is Member Neighbors. Are you referring to the email on P82 PDF 68, which is, I believe it's the last email that I can find in the packet from Ms. Vienne, but it is merely a summary of the records that will then be sent to next request, not results or responsive records at all. Is that the email that you're talking about, Cheryl?
Yeah, it's on page 82. That's the email that I'm talking about. That's all I've gotten.
Okay. Member Highland, were you done with your portion?
Yeah, hold on one second. I'm just looking for that because, short of receiving this response from Ms. VN and what we've asked for, I don't see why this case is back on the docket. That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. Because that was the information we wanted, before this got out of committee and then, got to the full task force. So that's what I'm trying to underscore here.
It doesn't, this is member neighbors again. It doesn't appear though that she said anything other than, here, let me help you phrase your request, right? And she helped her clarify. I mean, my thought here is that we should probably ask Ms. Morowski if she received anything from these requests after she and Ms. Vien worked to craft and shape the language so that it was clear and move forward to next request.
All right. What's the date of this? Is this email? Can you see that? I'm still trying to find this.
It's June 11th, and it's on P82.
Okay. All right. That should have been a response to our directive then. So basically, right. It's stalled out there, is what we're saying.
That's what it looks like.
Okay. Well,
just for the, excuse me, Chris, for interrupting you. Just for the benefit of the committee, I found out yesterday that Ms. Vien is no longer with Public Health. So I don't know what was going on before then.
Oh my God.
Vice Chair Yankee.
Yeah, Member Wolf or Chair Wolf.
I through the chair here. Member Highland, would you be open to having this returned back to EOT? For
absolutely, and that's really what I would want before it made it up to you guys. So send it back to us. We'll find out who's replacing Miss Vien. We'll put this response in front of them, and I think that's the quickest way to get Ms. Morowski her information. With no one here from DPH, I don't think we're going to achieve anything at the full task force at this point. Okay. So I'm happy to take this back, and Cheryl, if we can put this on the September 14th agenda, if at all possible, if there's any cancellations. Or the next available, that would be my recommendation. So yes, I'm willing to do that.
Okay. Considering that it would still be at the jurisdiction level, if you're open to try and encourage any activity on it, that's fine, but any existing violations or non-compliance that you're noticing would still be valid to send forward.
Agreed.
Looks like we have member neighbors and member Padmanabhan would like to speak. Member neighbors want to go first, then we'll go to member Padmanabhan.
Thanks. So, I mean, is there a reason whether or not Ms. Vien is still employed by the Department of Public Health, the Department of Public Health is still in violation of their timely response to this request. So I would urge us to go ahead and take some kind of action, or, I mean, I think it still warrants an order of determination. They've had plenty of time. The request, Ms. Morowski made the request repeatedly over and over and over. Ms. Vien just happened to be the last person that was kind of helping her with her requests, but this has been going on a long time, and I think we've learned from other cases, bringing in the new next staff member doesn't really change anything. It's still a departmental issue. So I'm just putting that out there for discussion if anyone has any inclinations to discuss.
Thank you. I see you, Member Stein. We'll let Member Padmanabhan go first, though. When you're ready, Member Padmanabhan?
Yes. Can I ask Ms. Morawski a question? Ms. Morawski, you mentioned in your opening statement that that you have received some documents, from Ms. Vian. When did you receive it? And you said that you suspect the integrity of the data that you got, but when did you exactly receive that?
So for record 2834, which was a breakdown of 7 different categories, I received on June 16th a cut and paste that as of December 2019, nothing before, nothing after, that the caseload was 17-1, and that there was 15 case management programs, that there was only 30 regular mental health programs, and the case management ratio was 1-16, which is a contradiction to what the executive director of Health Rate 360 sent me, and which is a contradiction to the TAP 27 client ratio.
I understand that. I'm sorry for interrupting, but what I wanted to get at was the 2019 snapshot you already received.
And that's the same thing they sent again. Basically,
they did not send you any more information dating back to 2015.
They sent me on June, I'll repeat myself, June 16th, 2021, in the afternoon, after our last Sunshine Ordinance Task Force meeting. She was compliant with giving all the records, yet they were all the same response. Each one, boom, 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 which is impossible. You can't have a psychiatric unit with one. You cannot have one patient, 17 patients to one person.
Yeah.
So she cut and pasted everything, and again, and no data dating to 2015, only as of 2019 in her verbiage that she wrote. Was that clear?
Okay, got it. So we're still talking only 2019.
Correct.
Okay. So my inclination is to actually find violation, because Ms. Vian was instructed to.
All right, let's hold on.
Yeah, we're still in the question and answer. We'll get to that deliberations after they have a chance for rebuttals.
Okay.
All right. Any Member Stein, did you have a question?
Actually, I'm going to withdraw my thing because I was going to respond. More of a discussion.
Okay. Are there any other questions before we move to rebuttals? All right, seeing none. Ms. Morawski, you have a chance now for, well, actually, before we get to you, I'll ask one more time for Department of Public Health if they have a rebuttal to make in case they have joined the meeting.
May I ask why they're going to get a fourth opportunity after
one moment.
Many years?
Just want to make sure that there's no one from Public Health for a rebuttal. Anyone from Public Health? Okay. Hearing none, Ms. Morawski, you're going to have a chance for your rebuttal now, and Cheryl will let you know when you're ready to begin.
Ms. Morawski, ready?
Well, may I ask a clarifying question? What am I rebuttaling? I just explained myself in my opening statement what my concerns were and why my request was. Again, we have an influx of money coming into the Department of Public Health and Mental Health since 2012 until current. From 2015 to current, there is no data. We have a mental health.
Point of order, Ms. Morawski. You can say these things during your rebuttal, but let Cheryl start the clock.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on what I'm talking about.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am. Thanks, Cheryl.
Okay, go ahead.
So this rebuttal is about case management ratio to client-centered care. In our navigation centers, out of 200 cases, 2 of them needed psychiatric care, 198 were popped with Narcan and given no additional resources or follow-up. We are housing people that are very, very ill and sick and with substance, and we're not giving them any agency. We have, again, 238 billion, that's with a B, coming into this city, into California. We have so much money that has been wasted on mental health services, and we're killing people. In September 24th of 2019, we gave the Department of Public Health and the HOT team, the Homeless Operation Team, $15 million was never accounted for. And that's disturbing. Health Right 360, Ms. Shanks was on the phone. They diagnosed her with carpal tunnel syndrome, and she was paralyzed because her spine was collapsing. People have gone into the pharmacies there and been given wrong diagnosis and drug treatments. The new Walden House is where to get the cleanest heroin. Our case managers are underqualified. They are culturally incompetent. And we don't have any data on what's happening to these individuals because there's nothing being recorded. So where is all this money going to these programs? All of these programs in 2014 to present were broken up. Walden House, Health Right 360, Haight-Ashbury, all of the individual ones we created during the AIDS epidemic were dissolved and were put into a monopoly of Health Right 360. It takes an average of 6 months to get anybody to even see a therapist or a case manager. It takes up to a year to get somebody to qualify you for housing. This is a problem, and this has been an ongoing problem since I've been researching it since 2015, which is why I based my data. In 2014, the Department of Emergency Management turned over everything to Department of Homelessness and Housing, which increased our house list to 300%. When you're unhoused, it leads to mental health challenges. So please take this under consideration so we can have some transparency, oversight, and accountability of the mental health and substance abuse services being offered that they say they're offering that there's no proof of, and no proof of the budget. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, members, this is the portion for our deliberations. So, Member Stein, did you want to go in this part?
Yeah, sorry, I was looking for how to put my hand up. Yeah, I mean, I'm coming in a little bit late in this game because, I guess this has come before the task force a few times, but to me it seems pretty clear that there's already been a failure to respond in a timely and complete manner. And from what I'm hearing about the no-shows, it also sounds like a violation to me of 67.21E for not sending an authorized representative to attend a hearing and explain the basis for their decision not to give documents. So I guess I'm just following up on what Member Neighbors said. It seems reasonable to me to make a determination, at least on those 2 points.
Thank you. Member Padmanabhan?
So I would just like to add that I think the Department of Public Health, so the issue there was whether there exists records at all that can provide this data. And I do recall at the EOTC meeting that Chair Hyland at that time and the rest of the team were discussing whether there, if there was any one particular record that would satisfy the request. But as it turns out, there exists information that can satisfy the request. And that's how they arrived at the 2019 data. So I just feel that the Department of Public Health can locate the information, even if it's not a single or, set of records that can directly satisfy Ms. Morawski's request. So I do find that the Department of Public Health is in violation for perhaps 67.21C2 for failing to assist in identifying the records requested.
Okay, thanks. I see Member Highland.
Yes, thank you, Director Yankee. Yes, to build on Member Padmanabhan's comments, they did provide a response in 2019, and I believe Ms. Vienne did that by getting data from 2 or 3 different documents. So basically, we determined that if you can do that for 19, you can do that on a rolling basis for 2015 through 20, and that's what we're waiting for. Now, these documents come from contractors that report to DPH, but the onus is still on DPH to gather this information. That was kind of our position. Were these documents at DPH held as a record? No, but we felt that because they were able to provide this information for 19, it should be possible to provide this for the respondent for the years that she wanted on a reasonably rolling basis. That's where we left it. And of course, without the Ms. Vienne there anymore, we're kind of back to square one. I have a quick question for the clerk. Do we know who Ms. Vienne's replacement is at DPH? Cheryl, is that?
I don't know. Excuse me, I do not have the person's name.
Okay, all right. There was another complication here. A lot of these requests did not come as straight vanilla SOTF or records requests. They came as FOIA. They weren't that clearly put together. We've helped, I think, clear up that process a little bit. So what we have now is something that Vienne's successor can work on. So Ms. Morawski, I think what we can offer you is to have the EOTC contact DPH's successor, explain what's happened, and have them work on your subsequent years. But it's going to take some time. It's going to be on a rolling basis, and that's probably the best that we can offer. So what I would say is let's go ahead and have a vote on whatever we're going to vote on, and then perhaps have the request the chair to send it back to us because we've dealt this already, rather than compliance. That I'm willing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Member Neighbors.
Thank you. I want to underscore what Member Highland mentioned there about the subcontracting relationship. I think that's a really important pattern that we're seeing in a lot of our cases, whether it's with the Zoo, Zoological Association, or the Parks Alliance, is that records requests are not being filled because some subcontractors, or we're hearing from the respondents that they can't make the subcontractors provide the information. And yet, as Member Highland mentioned, we know that these departments that is their responsibility to do that. So I think that's an important piece of this case, and a piece that we need to make sure that we are, educating departments on, that even when they're in those subcontracting positions, they're still responsible for the information that people need.
All right, thanks. Chair Wolf.
I want to make sure that everybody who has their hand up had already spoken before me. Okay. So a couple of things. One, just want to support what everybody has said. I want to make a quick clarification that the subcontractors for this particular purpose is not the same as a nonprofit organization that's received funding from the city. That nonprofit organization would be under 12L. This is an actual contractors providing direct services on behalf of the city that the city has chosen not to provide themselves. So it's that contract will have a different set of language regarding the requirements under Sunshine than a 12L organization. So let's be cognizant of that because the compelling of the Department of Public Health to or ordering them to produce this information, no matter who works for them, whether it's paid city staff, civil service workers, or a third-party contractor, public health is still the one responsible for providing the records because they're public records that are owned by the city, the people of the city, the county of San Francisco. I'm ready to make a motion based upon what I've heard. If there's any other comments people want to make, I'll hold off on that motion. That might be useful to or pertinent to a motion.
I see Member Stein's hand still up. Member Stein, did you? Okay.
That's
Yeah. Okay. So then I'll move to find a violation of 6720.
I see Member Wong's hand up too. Real fast.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I ran to the restroom, and so I wanted to just double check to see if anyone mentioned 6721E for sending a qualified representative. Awesome.
Yeah. So I'll move to find a violation 6721C and 6721E. 6721C for not assisting, and 6721E for not sending a representative, and also in addition that the task force order order the respondent to comply with the complainant's request, and that is in the language of 6721E, and that this be referred to EOT for monitoring.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Member Padmanabhan. I'd like to second that.
Okay. So the motion's by Chair Wolf, second by Member Padmanabhan. Any deliberations on the motion before we move to public comment? Seeing none, this is the portion for public comment. If you'd like to give public comment on this, please speak up, and so the chair can add you to the list. You can press *6 to unmute yourself for public comment.
Anonymous number 3, please.
Okay, we have anonymous number 3. Any other members of the public wish to provide public comment? *6 to unmute yourself.
Warfield here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Warfield. So we have anonymous number 3 and Mr. Warfield. Any other public commenters? If there's some background noise, if you're not going to make public comment, please press *6 to mute yourself until your turn to make public comment, please. Okay, Cheryl, I'll turn it over to you to let anonymous number 3 know when you're ready.
Okay. I hear that we have 2 public commenters and anonymous number 3. Are you ready?
Yes.
I can barely hear you. What was that?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. You ready?
I am.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. This is anonymous number 3. Fully support the motion. However, I still think there's a violation of 6721B. It's not just a failure to assist. State law, court interpretation of state law, as has been discussed in various prior cases under the City of National City case, states that the city has a legal responsibility to instruct its contractors to produce the records. And so it's not merely a responsibility to assist the person to find the records. The city has to produce them to the public. So I'm going to say the same exact thing I said in the John Hooper case. It's also a violation of 6721B because at the end of the day, as far as the public is concerned, it is the Department of Public Health information or records. And that's one extra thing you get in the Sunshine Ordinance. You don't have to ask for a record. You can ask for information that is contained in some record, and they have to go figure that out. That's why there's an additional, that's why you can request both public records and public information, which is defined differently under the Sunshine Ordinance as the content of a public record. But again, I still think, as I stated in the Hooper case, there's also a 6721B violation because courts have interpreted even the state law requirement to produce copies in your possession to be a constructive possession requirement, and thus DPH must actually produce the copies in the actual possession of its contractors, which are in DPH's own constructive possession. So again, I would ask you to add a 6721B for failure to actually timely and completely produce the copies. Thank you.
Thank you. Shaw, when you're ready for Mr. Warfield, please let him know.
I'm not hearing anything. It's something.
Just a second, Mr. Warfield. Are you ready to speak, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Just let me know when to start.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. It's Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and PO Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. First of all, I'd like to agree with anonymous number 3. I think that the idea that a contractor would not be accessible to the city with respect to the records that they are using or creating or keeping or having access to with in connection certainly with respect to a contract with the city is just a sheer preposterous kind of an evasion of the city department's responsibility under the law. I certainly would like to support. We're not a party to the case, and we're not familiar with the details other than what we've heard here. And also at the EOTC, where I think this is a key matter that has come up, and I think, I believe Member I'm not sure which member it was, but I think it was she who said we need to alert people within the city that that's how we're viewing things, that if it's your contractor, then their records are accessible to you and should be provided to the public. I'm also very happy that to support the motion as it stands, preferably with the addition suggested by anonymous number 3. I'm particularly glad because the no-show of a department, I think, really undermines and is a real flouting of the law. It's very clear that the law requires a representative to come, and as you know, the failure to come can lessen or reduce your ability to understand what's going on, to learn the truth, and can also hold up the works of the Sunshine Task Force. So as I said, I certainly support the existing motion and support the addition of 67.21B as in
30 seconds.
I'd also like to ask, the fidelity of the phone is not so good, which I'm on, and in general, I'd appreciate if you would, it was very hard to distinguish between C, D, C for cat, D for dog, E for Edward, and B for battle. It would be helpful if you would make that real clear when you cite those sections. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public commenters? Star 6 to unmute yourself to provide public comment. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Members, did you have any deliberations? Looks like Chair Wolf.
Yeah, I appreciate the public comment on the omission of 6721B. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse not to include that. This whole section of 6721, if you read it from starting with A and ending with L, is somewhat in sequence, and so B would have to be violated in order for E to actually take place. So I would respectfully amend the motion to include 6721B as Bravo. That's a motion to amend.
Okay, we have a motion to amend. Do we have a second?
This is Member Padmanabhan, and I second that.
Okay, moved by Chair Wolf, seconded by Member Padmanabhan. Any discussion on the amendment? It's the addition of B, as in boy. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to public comment specifically on the amendment. Any public comment? Now's your time. Please press *6 to unmute yourself, and we can add you for public comment. Again, this is public comment on the amendment only. Last chance for public comment.
Warfield.
Okay, we have Mr. Warfield. Any other public commenters? All right, Mr. Warfield, please wait until Cheryl lets you know when to begin. Cheryl, when you're ready.
Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
Yes, just let me know when.
Go ahead, sir.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com. P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Thank you, Chair Wolf, and to the members for adding that additional thing and also for making clear the difference between the very similar sounding on low fidelity standard instruments, which subsections by letter you're referring to. Certainly we support that. I did want to comment only this time because this is the fourth time, basically as a housekeeping matter, that the *6 has put me out of the queue to make public comment. There was a pause, there was silence, the system then said, you have been muted, and then describes how to unmute yourself, and then there's a pause. I pressed *6 immediately, and there was a pause, and then it said, you have been unmuted. And I think it's important to really understand what you're doing on your end. I believe that if you mute everybody or any individual, then they have to press *6. But your procedure in general has been not to mute folks, which I appreciate and I think is valuable. And so if you're not muting people, then their previous unmuted status carries over to for as long, basically, as you let them let the public have that status. So just wanted to clarify the mechanics of how the meeting public comment system or how a piece of it works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warfield. Before I call for other public comment, I just would note that the instructions at the top of our agenda asks that everyone, when they're done with their public comment, does press *6 to put themselves back on mute. This is to keep background noise on. So folks should be remaining on mute until they're ready to provide public comment. And this helps, like I said, reduce any background noise so that those who are speaking can be heard clearly. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Members, any other deliberations on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll have Cheryl go ahead and call the roll. And again, this is only on the amendment. Cheryl, when you're ready.
Chair Wolf,
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Stein?
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Member Vice Chair Yankee?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yankee, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Okay, this is just on the amendment. Moved by, I didn't get, you know what I didn't get was a second for the amendment.
I believe that was Member Padmanabhan. Is that correct? Yes, that was correct. So it was moved by Chair Wolf, seconded by Member Padmanabhan.
Moved by Chair Wolf, seconded by Member Padmanabhan to amend the motion to include 6721B for failure to timely produce the documents.
Great. And that passed. Okay, so Cheryl, at this point, can you read the original motion that includes the amendment?
Moved by Chair Wolf, second by Member Padmanabhan to find a violation of 6721B for failure to timely produce the documents, 6721C for not assisting the petitioner, and 6721E for not sending a representative to the hearing, and that the task force order the respondent to comply with the complainant's request, and that this matter be referred to the Education Outreach and Training Committee for monitoring.
Thank you, Cheryl. And any deliberations before we move to a vote on the original motion as amended? Chair Wolf?
I would just for the sake of people listening in on the phone, it's 6721B for Bravo, C for Charlie, and E for Echo. And I call the question.
Okay. Cheryl, go ahead and do the roll call.
Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Stein?
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Member Vice Chair Yankee?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yankee, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Do you need me to read the motion again, Vice Chair Yankee?
I think we're all set because you've already read it as amended. So that has passed. And that is the conclusion for this file number. Thank you, Ms. Morawski, for joining us today. And at this point, it looks like we're ready for item number 4. Cheryl, when you're ready.
Thank you.
Item number 4, public comment. Members of the public may address the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force on matters that are within the task force jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Thank you. So this is the part for general public comment for items not on the agenda. If you would like to speak for general public comment, please state your name or a name that we can refer to you as, so that we can place you into the queue, and Cheryl will let you know when to begin. So *6 to unmute yourself. Again, this is for general public comment, item number 4.
Anonymous.
Okay, I hear, I believe, anonymous, and who else was that?
Warfield.
Warfield. Okay, so Mr. Warfield, anonymous. Any other members of the public for general public comment?
Sullivan.
Sullivan. Okay, we have Sullivan as well. Any other members for item number 4, general public comment? All right, looks like we have 3 at this point. Cheryl, I'll let you begin. I think anonymous was the first, followed by Mr. Warfield, and then Sullivan.
Are you ready, Anonymous?
I am.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. This is anonymous number 3. I'm on vacation, so I'm going to hang up after this. It won't bother you. First, you considered a complaint by Dr. Sumchai last month. I believe you incorrectly decided the reconsideration of certain issues there were untimely. In reality, she sent a single email about both her reconsideration in 077 and the other file 20011, if I remember correctly, in a single email the day after you published the first order of determination, and she cites both of those in her letter to the chair and the full SOTF. She timely requested that reconsideration because your rules allow 30 days after the publication of an order of determination. I believe it was published February 17th, and she emailed you February 18th. Those days might be 1 or 2 days off. You should rescind that latter part of your motion and at some point give her the chance to actually have a request for reconsideration hearing. Second, your committees considered, I believe, across 3 or maybe 4 complaints, over 150 claims or allegations between one complainant and a single respondent recently. Now, we're yet to see how the full SOTF will process so many allegations in a single 5-minute presentation period. But if it does work out and you all think that that's enough time, I would encourage you to consider combining some of my various complaints against the same respondent that are in multiple complaint files in one, if you wish to do that to reduce the backlog. I think you'd get rid of a lot of things against the city attorney and the mayor because those are the ones who I complain against most frequently. You also approved last month a pilot about stipulations. I haven't heard back about that yet. I really hope you can begin that. It'll be interesting to see if the city actually bites on that or not. And finally, 1 year ago, as I told you last month, you conducted multiple meetings and approved by motion a series of recommendations about sunshine during COVID to the Board of Supervisors. But it's unclear what happened after that. And that is that high-level duty of SOTF that you and others have discussed. And you did that work at multiple meetings. It's just unclear whether you actually issued that report and recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, like formally, in a way that tells them or recommends to them that they terminate various portions of the emergency proclamations or supplements thereof that the mayor has issued, especially regarding the balancing test. I think I told you guys recently, the balancing test is being used for all sorts of shifts that have nothing to do with COVID. I've told you about homeless shelters, which do have something to do with COVID. The DA's text messages are being withheld under balancing test, and now communications with Recology about their settlement and the fact that their executives are charged with corruption, even though those would not normally be privileged. They're not attorney-client privilege, they're not attorney work product privilege because they are not the client of the city attorney, and they're not internal to the city attorney's office. The balancing test is being used to withhold all of those records. So this is very important that the balancing test be removed, and the voters' intent be implemented. Thank you.
And Show, when you're ready for the next public commenter.
Mr. Warfield?
Yes, just let me know when to start.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Peter Warfield, Library Users Association Executive Director, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, also P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. As I've said before, I include the contact information because for the rest of you, the contact information is pretty straightforward. For the respondents, it's pretty straightforward, easy enough to find. But for those who are not connected to the city in some official way, it's not always that easy to find contact information or correct contact information. And it certainly isn't possible to have the equivalent of what happens in a real meeting, which is you can simply go up to somebody and speak to them, or vice versa. I have 2 main points, and so I ask you to include it, our contact information, as we do with our comments. 2 main points. The previous speaker, thank goodness he's as paying attention as he is, but he did mention your high-level duty, and I certainly have too. It seems to me there is a rash, there is a plague of flouting of the law at the highest levels, of open government law, at the highest levels in this city. And it concerns me that this body has not enough looked at sections 67.30 and following to look and see what your duties are with regard to reports, with regard to informing, with regard to instructing people about sunshine issues. I think, for example, in particular, I think you should be asking for more support from the clerk of the board. I think you should be getting more support from the city attorney. The city attorney has recently, within, I believe, the last year, withdrawn a considerable level of support for this body. And I think, especially with so many new members, that it would be useful to have that level of support that existed for a long time back again. So the larger issue is you can go and find it violation, but when departments don't show up, when they don't care what you find, when they don't follow what you tell them to do, there's a higher level that needs to be made public and to be spread to the places particularly that are specified in the ordinance. I'd also like to request a follow-up at a committee or two committees on our case 20082, Library Users Association versus the Library Commission from June 2nd.
Your time is up, sir.
Your own order of determination said that you were asking the respondent to provide more information. I have no information that anything was provided. It needs to be followed.
Thank you, Mr. Warfield. Cheryl, when you're ready for the next speaker.
Mr. Sullivan, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
The Task Force Bylaws, Section 7, the affirmative vote of a majority of members of the Task Force 6 shall be required for the approval of all substantive matters. The Brown Act 54952.6 defines action taken or the vote. As used in this chapter, action taken means a collective decision made by a majority of the members of a legislative body, a collective commitment or promise by a majority of the members of a legislative body to make a positive or negative decision, or an actual vote by a majority of the members of a legislative body when sitting as a body or entity upon a motion, proposal, resolution, order, or ordinance. Requires a positive or negative decision to be a majority. There is no comma between positive or negative. It does not use the word all. It says a majority of members when sitting as a body. Requirement of 6 votes is fine when all 11 members of the task force vote, as you get the positive or negative majority. A complainant should not be at the arbitrary number of task force members seated at a hearing. The task force can fully comply with the Brown Act and change it to a majority. In the past, when the task force has failed to get 6 votes in the affirmative, it has then taken the minority vote as a win and issued orders for the minority position. This is just wrong. It violates the Brown Act. It violates the California Constitution, reading statutes broadly for greater public access, and the Sunshine Ordinance, Section 6736. Sunshine Ordinance supersedes other local laws. The bylaws 6 votes in the affirmative is based on one sentence in the San Francisco Municipal Code. It is a spaghetti fest of a code. The next sentence in the code says, all appointed boards, commissions, or other units of government shall act by a majority, 2/3, 3/4, or other vote of all members. The task force is an appointed unit of government and can act by a majority or other vote of all members. The task force has a duty to comply with the Brown Act. It can change its bylaws. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Speaker. I see Chair Wolf, his hand up.
I'm Patrick Manette-Shaw. I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah, I just want to make have a response to the just previous speaker. Just a little bit of history. Prior to 2012, the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force did change its bylaws to be a simple majority. And it was met with a lot of objection from the then Board of Supervisors, which then did not reappoint the entire Sunshine Ordinance Task Force members that had applied for reappointment. And none of those members were considered for a number of years. It has been held that the word all, as was quoted that a majority vote of all members means that it's all seats and not just those that attend or who are present at a meeting. And that is up for contention and is exactly why the Board of Supervisors and every other commission operates in the same way. So this is, not necessarily a matter that the task force will take up or has not taken up in many years because of this determination by the Board of Supervisors and the city attorney. So I just wanted to mention that in history, that it's not like the task force has not addressed this issue before. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Wolf. I heard, I believe, Mr. Monette Shaw as the next public speaker. So Cheryl, when you're ready.
Mr. Monette Shaw, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
2 quick points. I was absolutely shocked hearing Ms. Vienne is no longer working with the Department of Public Health. I hopped online. I sent her an email at her SFDPH email address, and I just got back an email thanking me for my email, but noting that she is no longer working at SFDPH. I'm hoping that by the time my case makes it to the October full task force agenda, that DPH finds someone to send to that hearing. I want to commend Member Wolf for including in his motion on Ms. Murawski's complaint number 20-055 that the language of the motion includes something to the effect of SOTF orders the respondent to comply with her request. I think on an ongoing basis, that should be a boilerplate part of any motion made, finding that a respondent did not reply, whether in a timely manner or not replied at all, that the task force should order them explicitly to comply with the records request and provide the requested records by a date certain. You need to qualify in the motion that should be a boilerplate part of the motion, a date certain on when the respondents must comply. Unless and until respondents are told verbally in orders of determination that they must comply and they must do it by a date certain, they're just going to keep thumbing their nose at you folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Wolf, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted, for the speaker's comment, I appreciate that, and also just for everyone's edification, the language in 6721E Echo states that if the custodian, this is the next part, the next step after the order to immediately produce the records. Quote, if the custodian refuses to or fails to comply with any such order within 5 days, the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force shall notify the district attorney or the attorney general, who may take whatever measures he or she deems necessary to ensure compliance with provisions of this ordinance. I don't think that there's any problem with including the both statements in the order of determination just as a reference for whenever this subject comes up. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Wolf.
Thank you. Are there any other public commenters for general public comment? Again, you can press *6 to unmute yourself if you'd like to give public comment. Last call for public comment. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment, and we will move on to item number 5. And then Cheryl, when you're ready, if you could read item number 5 for us.
Item number 5, file number 21008, complaint filed by Stillian Bajanski against the Planning Department for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and complete manner. On June 15th, the complaint committee found that the task force has jurisdiction, the requested records are public, and referred the matter to the task force for hearing.
Thank you. And do we have the complainant present, Mr. Bajanski? Mr. Bajanski, if you're available, could you let us know? Press *6 to unmute yourself. Okay. And then do we have the respondent?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yes, this is Laura Lynch from the Planning Department.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, before we begin with the testimony, if Member Schmidt, since you're the chair of the complaint committee, if you want to give us a summary of what occurred.
Yes, this is Member Schmidt. We heard that there are 2 cases, this one and the one that'll come next, involving Mr. Bajanski. We felt, I think, that in the first case, this concerns emails, and I think it was admitted that there was a delay, and so a violation in that. But it does appear that the emails were eventually given. I think that there's a need to realize that since we're just doing what we can do in terms of what the task force does, we're seeing in these files a lot of other types of complaints. And so Mr. Bajanski would need to know, and he does know, I'm sure, that we can only do this part of his deal with this part of his issue. I'll hold off on the second case, but it's also fairly straightforward. It's just a different kind of documents and also an acknowledged delay.
All right.
I would defer to my other committee members also to see if they wish to add anything.
Yeah, this is Member Stein. I don't think I have much to add. I do think that there was an admission by the respondent in both cases that documents weren't supplied in a timely manner. And that, to me, seemed like the firmest part of these 2 cases.
Okay. Member Schmidt, did Mr. Bajanski attend the hearing before the complaint committee?
As I best recall, I have heard from him, and it must have been at that hearing, and so I'm pretty sure he was there. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll call one more time for Mr. Bajanski. Are you present? Please press *6 to unmute yourself if you are present and let us know. Okay, it does not appear that Mr. Bajanski here is present for his hearing. Members, did you want to continue with hearing this case tonight, or other options, deliberation? This would typically be the portion where Mr. Bajanski would present his case to us.
This is Member Wong. I just wanted to check in with our administrator to see if she received any communication.
No, to the committee, I did not receive any communication from Mr. Bajanski about whether he would or would not attend tonight's hearing. I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Chair Wolf, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to inform everyone of what our complaint procedure says with regards to what's happening in this moment. It's in our complaint procedure, section 7, B as in Bravo. If the complainant fails to appear at an SOTF or committee hearing regarding their complaint without prior communication, the matter may be filed and dismissed without prejudice. Complaints dismissed without prejudice are considered closed. No further actions are to be taken. The complainant shall be notified of the action and may request that their complaint be reopened in writing if requested within 60 days. The complainant may also refile the complaint on a future date. The SOTF or its chairperson shall determine if the complaint shall be reopened. That's our rules.
Thank you. So I suppose the question before us at this point is, do we follow those rules and table or close this file for a non-appearance, or do we proceed since it says may? Any thoughts, members?
This is Member Wong. I would definitely lean towards dismissing the case without prejudice, because I would want to hear from the complainant. It honestly, to me, doesn't make sense to try to make a determination on this without that information. I definitely had questions for Mr. Bajanski as it stands. So.
Was that a motion, Member Wong?
It might be, unless other members have a contribution. I don't want to jump the gun.
Gotcha. Members, how do we feel?
I feel like if that were a motion, I would feel open to seconding it. So.
Okay, this is Member Wong. I will make a motion to dismiss the case without prejudice due to a lack of attendance by the complainant or petitioner.
This is Member Neighbors. I second.
Okay, moved by Member Wong, seconded by Member Neighbors.
Actually, could I add one note to that too? I just want to ensure that we send out the correct communications to the complainant so they know what has happened and that they are welcome to reopen the case.
Member Wong, we do have a template that we send to people who are not present at the hearing to let them know what their choices are, and we always include the link to the minutes. So it's pretty clear.
Great, thank you, Cheryl.
Okay. So moved by Member Wong, seconded by Member Neighbors. Any deliberation on this motion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to public comment.
I'm Patrick. I'd like to comment.
Okay. Any public commenters? If we have you, Mr. Monette Shaw. If there's any other public commenters, please speak up. If you're muted, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Again, this is public comment for item number 5.
Peter Warfield.
Okay, Mr. Warfield, I hear you. Any other public commenters? Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with the two public commenters we have. Cheryl, when you're ready, please let them know.
Mr. Manette Shaw, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
Isn't this meeting that you guys are racing through, and it won't be a midnight style meeting, but it's extremely disappointing, and I don't mean to rag on the task force. This is obviously beyond your control, but I want to make 2 points. The first is, I just heard that there was an admission by the respondent that they hadn't complied, hopefully in their admission, quote unquote admission. They indicated that they would comply and provide the requested record. If that is what happened, I don't see why this agenda item was even scheduled for today. I think the task force should develop a procedure that if the respondent admits they violated the ordinance, that the matter would not move to being put on the agenda until some point in the future when the respondent changes their mind, decides they are not going to comply, not going to provide the records, and if they subsequently do not provide the records, then and only then should the matter be put on a task force agenda. So I want to repeat, I am extremely frustrated that my case was or is being postponed at the earliest until October, because of 3 cases on tonight's agenda are suddenly evaporating into thin air, because I'm assuming that on this first complaint by Mr. Bajanski, that if he ain't there for the first one, he ain't going to be there for the second one. And
30 seconds.
And so you're going to tie up more time even going to his second complaint when he's not there for the first one. I think you should amend the motion and dismiss both of these cases now and not tie up more of this meeting hearing the same stuff again about his next complaint. I don't mean to sound pissed, but you know what? I'm pissed. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl, when you're ready for the next speaker.
Mr. Warfield?
Yes, just let me know when I can start.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com. So box 44, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. I think I heard an interruption, so I will repeat the post office box address, P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. The procedure is in place, as I think we've heard, but it's not clear to me what options the person has with respect to whether they maintain their place in line, if they should possibly, for example, didn't get who knows what the reasons are or what the reason is for the non-appearance. But I do think it's worth, again, trying to communicate with the complainant to find out what's going on. And I would be in a position better to support or not support the dismissal as opposed to a postponement if this meant that restarting the case would keep the person's place in line. It seems to me a rather harsh, result that if there's some kind of a mistake, some kind of a screw up, who knows where or how, if there's some kind of a problem, that may be quite a reasonable reason why somebody didn't show up. I wouldn't want them necessarily to lose their place and have to wait another however many months, especially considering the long backlog, particularly if the reason for their not showing up makes sense to the committee ultimately. We've heard some cases where administrative errors, for example, have sent the notice of the meeting in the case of Mr. Chafee some months ago, where the notice of the meeting didn't reach the complainant until literally the day before the actual meeting. And if they hadn't been there to receive it or see it,
30 seconds.
Wouldn't even have been able to let you know that they're not coming. So that's my question. What's, procedurally what happens? Certainly we would support what you're doing if it would enable the person to restart, particularly if there was a good reason in your eyes for what's happened today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public commenters on this item? Again, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Last call for public comment. Hearing no other public commenters, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Members, any other deliberations before we vote on this item? Seeing none, Cheryl, when you're ready, can you call the roll?
Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Stein?
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Yankee? I'm
Aye.
sorry, Vice Chair Yankee.
Aye.
Vice Chair Yankee, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Moved by Member Wong, seconded by Member Neighbors to dismiss the case due to lack of appearance by the petitioner.
Thank you. Okay, on to item number 6. Cheryl, when you're ready.
Yeah. Item number 6, file number 20117, complaint filed by Stilian Bajanski against Jonas Ionin and the Planning Department for allegedly violating Administrative Code sections 6724 by failing to provide public information, 6725 failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and/or complete manner, 6726 failing to keep withholding to a minimum, 6727 failing to justify withholding, and 6729 failing to provide an index of records. On June 15, 2021, the complaint committee found jurisdiction, determined that the requested records are public, and referred the matter to the task force.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'm assuming the answer won't have changed, but I will call for it. Mr. Bajanski, are you present for this file number? Again, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, I am not hearing that the petitioner is present for this. Member Schmidt, did you want to give a summary on this case or not?
I'll give a summary.
Okay.
Just like the last case, and pretty straightforward. This one's about tapes that I believe he eventually did receive and acknowledged lateness. That's all.
Okay. And I should have asked, I believe what this is, the same, we still have someone from the planning department here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Great. Okay, so for the record, we could show that someone was here from the planning department. Members, how do we want to proceed on this one? Any motions? Deliberations? Again, we do not have Mr. Bajanski here to present his case.
Well, this is Member Schmidt, and it seems to me that the same thing that happened with the last case should be what happens here. I think the two cases are sort of going to go in lockstep, whatever happens with them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
this
that-
is Member Stein. I was going to say I make a motion to dismiss without prejudice.
Okay. Moved by Member Stein. Do we have a second?
Member Schmidt, second.
Okay. Moved by Member Stein, seconded by Member Schmidt. Any deliberation, members? Seeing no deliberation, we'll move to public comment for this. If you'd like to comment.
This is Patrick. I'd like to comment.
Okay, we have Patrick. Anyone else who would like to offer public comment on item number 6? You can press *6 to unmute yourself if you're muted. All right. At this point, we only have Patrick. So go ahead, Cheryl, when you're ready.
Mr. Monette Shaw, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
This is, quote, only, end quote, Patrick. I could have sworn that the task force had adopted streamlining procedures to help alleviate the backlog of complaint hearings in which you decided, I think, to combine a single complainant's multiple complaints, particularly against the same offending respondent, into a single hearing. So I was kind of shocked today seeing the hearing where this complainant had two separate complaints scheduled. I understand from Complaint Committee Chair Schmidt that his complaint had heard, his committee had heard the two separate complaints separately because they involve slightly different failures to provide public records. In my humble opinion, when did I become humble? In my opinion, this complainant's two complaints should have been scheduled for a single item. And you bifurcate maybe reason number 1 and reason number 2 into a single hearing. You could have dispensed with this motion on the floor to do same house, same call by having combined his two complaints into one hearing, which may or may not have allowed time to schedule for today's full task force meeting my hearing that's been delayed. So here we have 3 separate cases that have been dismissed, or
20 seconds.
I'm not sure what you did with the first one, but this is completely ridiculous that today's agenda kind of fell apart because of no-shows by either the complainant or the respondent. This is ridiculous.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other public commenters on this item? Again, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Peter Warfield.
Okay, we have Peter Warfield. Cheryl, when you're ready, please let Mr. Warfield know when he can begin.
Yeah. Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
Yes, just let me know when to start.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association. libraryusers2004@yahoo.com, and also P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. I really would appreciate the courtesy of a response to my procedural question as to what the dismissal does to the complainant if there was some innocent reason why that complainant may not have shown up. Whether it puts the complainant back at the back of the line where they might have to wait, 6 months. This complaint we're talking about today was filed, as I understand it, in October. So that's almost a year that this complainant has waited, presumably for a hearing. So it's just as a simple point of information, I'd like to know what the meaning is of this action you're taking. Does it put him at the end of the line if he lets himself be heard and says it was a mistake or there was some problem? Or perhaps it was the task force or the administration, or who knows? And so, not having heard an answer the first time, I can't say that I can provide an informed recommendation on the motion. I would remind you that there have been instances where it has been a snafu with the task force that prevented somebody from or contributed to somebody's not coming, and that can happen. I also would remind you that it's important to consider that the law requires the attendance of the respondent, but the law does not speak to any requirement for the attendance of a complainant. Now, in the past, we've had at least one complainant very clearly saying he didn't want to come, but it's conceivable that the complainant here may not have wanted to come for some reason or another that we haven't heard yet. I can also say that from a previous member of the Sunshine Task Force, heard that previous task forces would alert, they would get in touch with complainants, even those who have lost, to basically indicate an interest in what they felt about the outcome and so on. It was a sense of taking care of, sort of aftercare, if you like. In this case, I think it wouldn't hurt to let the administrator find out, if possible, whether the complainant would like what happened, why they didn't show up. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Wolf had a comment here.
Yeah, I just like for everyone's edification, I did read it into the record, our complaint procedure, Article C, Section 7B. I'm not going to repeat it, but the conditions on how a complainant may have their file reopened, or they may refile the whole complaint that is listed in. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other further public comments on this item? Star 6 to unmute yourself. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Members, any other final deliberations before a vote? Seeing none. Okay. Cheryl, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Sorry about that. Member Stein?
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Vice Chair Yankee?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yankee, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Moved by Member Stein, second by Member Schmidt, to dismiss the matter without prejudice.
Thank you. And at this point, we already dispensed of item number 7 at the beginning. So it looks like we are on item number 8, the chair's report. Cheryl, if you could introduce it.
Item number 8, Chair's Report. System-wide advisory, timeliness of response. Reporting of deaths due to COVID-19 in San Francisco in relation to file number 18024. This complaint dealt with a request for death counts in San Francisco from the Department of Public Health. Recent publication and data collection on deaths due to COVID-19 appear puts into question the Department of Health practices on monitoring deaths in San Francisco. And there were 2 hyperlinks provided.
Great, thank you. And so Bruce, Chair Wolf,
Yeah.
I will let you take over.
Okay, thanks. With regards to the first item, I totally apologize. I had a recent medical event, and I was not able to finish the advisory and get it in time for the agenda. So unfortunately, this does need some review and approval of the task force, and will have to be put on the October agenda. I apologize to everyone for it. I know it's important and it's timely, but this couldn't have been helped. It was a sudden event I couldn't avoid. On the second item, I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because I found this, it was part of an email that got sent out that was also, I think, reported in the news around kind of the analytics around COVID-19 with regards to all kinds of metrics, including deaths. And some of you may not have been here for file number 18024. It was Mr. Roddy who was doing, he explained in his testimony he was doing some sort of review of death counts in San Francisco and was unable to get any information about death reports from the Department of Health. Because they don't actually collect that information. They enter that information into a state database directly. The coroner's office will enter all that information directly into the state database. So I found, after we're, now for, more than a year, we've been seeing these data statistics on the news all around the country for each state, very explicit metrics, and then seeing this data come from the Department of Public Health just astounded me. And so I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention because, I don't know whether there's anything to be done or if there's interest to do something about this, but where, the information that the city and the county collects is required public information that's to be disclosed unless otherwise exempted. I'm concerned now that Department of Public Health has been withholding the information, other information regarding deaths. So I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because we just had a hearing at the opening of our meeting, the first hearing that discussed similar type of information that was being withheld. And it's beginning to concern me with regards to Department of Public Health. So I just wanted to introduce that and bring it to your attention. And that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any comment on the chair's report? Questions? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and open it up to public comment on this item.
I'm Patrick. I'd like to speak, please.
Okay, we have Patrick. Any other public commenters for this item? *6 to unmute yourself.
Peter Warfield.
Okay, we have Peter Warfield. All right, sounds like we have Patrick and Peter Warfield. Cheryl, when you're ready, please let them know when they can begin.
Mr. Manette Shaw, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I'm Patrick. I sympathize with Mr. Wolf's situation. This is the second time discussion about a system-wide advisory over timeliness has now been delayed. Please expedite this on the October meeting agenda. And while you're at it, consider a second system-wide advisory alerting respondent city departments of their requirement to attend task force meetings. I think the system-wide advisories should be sent more frequently, distributed to members of the public, and posted on the task force's agenda to document when and how city departments are notified of how they have been in violation of the Sunshine Ordinance. I also want to comment on Chair Wolf's alarm about COVID data reporting out of SFDPH. Ever since DPH first launched its website back in March or April of 2020, reporting COVID data, I have checked it daily. And I can assure you that repeatedly they have provided deaths and case count information on day 8, that on day 12 they go back and substantially reduce. The veracity of their COVID case count and death count information is pathetic. And I think it is part and parcel of DPH's refusal to provide me with the out-of-county data, the out-of-county discharge data in my complaint, 21054, that after having provided me for well over a decade the out-of-county discharge data, that when I requested
Okay, thank you, sir. Your time's up.
data for out-of-county discharges during the COVID pandemic,
Okay.
they suddenly clammed up and said they can't produce it out of Epic. That is ridiculous.
Okay, time for the next speaker.
Mr. Warfield?
Yes.
Sir, are you ready?
Yes, let me know when to start.
More bullshit. You're asking questions.
I didn't hear you. Did you? I didn't hear what.
Start it again.
Start, did you say?
You may go ahead.
Thank you. Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com. Also, P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. First of all, I'm glad to hear additional information from the previous speaker about the health department, which I think comes from considerable knowledge. But I think that it needs to be clear what the chair was getting at with respect to what this item, both of these items really are about. Is the reporting of deaths by the health department something that needs a complaint to be filed with respect to some aspect of it that it's not clear to me from the agenda item what that might be. I'd also say that I don't know that there's any regulation against a member of the task force or the task force itself filing a complaint. With respect to system-wide advisories, I'd also agree with the previous speaker that there needs to be far more of what Anonymous 3 called high-level advisories, especially in an environment where there's such flagrant and frequent, really a plague of violations. What I don't understand is the system-wide advisory. I'm not sure what the intention was of the chair with respect to timeliness of response. Are we talking about timeliness of response to information requests? It's not clear what advisory is to be sent out, and whether that's connected to any particular complaint or whether it's just a general observation. Any of those would be useful to know about, and I think appropriate to send out system-wide. I'm not sure even what system-wide means. I would think public, and I would certainly broaden it to say not only specific departments need to know about these issues of widespread violations for sure, but also the public and the media. With respect to the referral that I got from the chair on the previous item, section C7B for Bravo says that within 60 days somebody can reactivate their file, but it doesn't say where in the queue that person will be placed. Will they have another 11 months to wait, or will they be up at the next available?
I'm sorry, how does this apply to the chair's report? This has nothing to do with
I didn't hear what was said. I'm sorry.
Your comment is not pertinent to the chair's report.
My whole comment?
Okay, I believe any other public commenters? The chair's report. All right, see none, we'll go ahead and close public comment on this item. Cheryl, if you could read item number, I believe it's 9.
Item number 9, Administrator's Report, Complaints and Communications. So let me get into it so we can review it. Okay, this report was prepared last Thursday, August 26th. I have provided a tentative schedule for hearings through November 23rd. I have provided in item number 2 all of the new complaints that we got in the month of August. I'm sorry. Below that, I've kind of tallied how many complaints we have that are anonymous and are individual requesters. Instead of just providing numbers, I thought people would want to know what the actual figures are between individual and requesters and anonymous, so that we have some sense of where we are with people. I've provided the draft minutes from the complaint committee hearing of August 27. I have several communications from Anonymous. That should be Mr. Sullivan on August 10. And below that, I have requests from community persons. I listed them on an Excel spreadsheet that is at the back of this report. And I'd like you guys to take note of the fact that I've dealt with 562 emails during this period. There are a lot of them, and I have the spreadsheet to prove it. So that's a lot of emails. Do you have any questions or anything? Can I help anybody answer questions?
Cheryl, yes, this is Vice Chair Yankee. I think the calendar that you listed under item number 1 for September is still incorrect. Committee meetings are 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Tuesdays of the month. So.
Yep, right. I have to correct that. You're absolutely right.
So just for members of the public and for us, the schedule on item number 1 for September is not correct. Everything is bumped 1 week later. That's all I had. Anyone else have questions, comments?
Yeah, forgive me. I don't think all of the dates are wrong. Can you highlight which of the dates you think are wrong? Because some of these I do have on my calendar and I think are correct.
For September only.
For September only.
Oh, September only.
September.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Just for September. Yep. Because the September 7th is actually the first Tuesday, not the second Tuesday.
Got it.
So everything's pushed just in September, 1 week back.
So
Thank you.
compliance and amendments will meet on the 28th of September. Anybody else? I will. What I will do is send out tomorrow an updated and corrected version of the 3 pages that are part of the report, so that you will see that, and you won't see the committee minutes. You won't see public comment, list of emails that I've had. You'll just see the report itself.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Any public comments specifically on the administrator's report?
This is Patrick. I'd like to speak, please.
Okay, Patrick, any other public commenters? You can unmute yourself by pressing *6. Okay, it sounds like we just have Patrick at this point. Cheryl, when you're ready.
Hello.
Just a moment, Mr. Monette Shaw.
All right.
Are you ready to begin, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate your indulgence with me, Cheryl. I want to highly commend both Cheryl Leger and Victor Young for their years and years of dedication to the supporting the work of the Sunshine Task Force. I believe both of them should be commended for their service, not only to the city and county of San Francisco, but to the citizens of the city. You folks have done remarkable yeoman's work, managing huge volumes of complaints, email exchanges, nagging of city department agencies, and helping relieve the backlog of Sunshine complaints following the unfortunate purge that Scott Wiener and other politicians have lobbed your way and stalled progress of this task force. I respectfully beg the full task force members to recommend that the Board of Supervisors acknowledge the hard work and dedication of both Ms. Leger and Mr. Young, if not as employees of the month, employees of the year. And I beg Clerk of the Board, Angela Cavillo, to fully support some kind of certificate of appreciation or whatever it's called to recognize these two very hard-working city employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Any other public comment on the administrator's report? Star 6 to unmute yourself. All right, hearing none, we'll close public comment on this item and move to the next item when you're ready, Cheryl.
Yeah, just a second. Item number 10, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force.
Thank you. Members, anything for this item? Okay. I don't see anything, so I think we can move on to our final item.
Public comment?
There was no action taken on this, so there's no public
It's an
comment.
agenda item, and I believe there needs to be public comment taken on every agenda item.
This is not a second general public comment period. There was no action taken here.
General public comment. It's a comment on what happened.
Nothing happened.
On the agenda.
Right. There's no action that was taken on this item.
Get over it, Peter.
Okay. We're going to move on to the final item here. Cheryl?
Item number 11, adjournment. I have 6:51.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? No motion to adjourn?
Who moves?
I move to adjourn. This is Member Padmanabhan.
Okay, moved by Member Padmanabhan. I'll second that.
Taken by acclamation?
Yes. Any objection? I'll say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, Vice Chair Yankee, I am going to stop the recording.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Nice to hear your voice again.